be a change of figure and appearance of the son because he was already starving at this time. Sa ako nang gingon, posibleng nagkagidlay na ning bataa. But despite the great distance and the changed appearance, the father perceived, the father noticed that the person who was coming was his son. Do you think this is a coincidence? Now, most of the Bible commentators have agreed that it was not an accidental sighting, since the son was a long way off. Imposible o natimingan lang o tanaw sa amahan ang anak. Kay perting layo ang distansya sa usag-usad nila. Apan sa gihapon na matikdan o nailhan gayon sa amahan ang iyang anak. Bisan pa o ang iyang hitsura na usap na. The father saw him. Diba kita, bisag unsa ka bulingit sa atong anak, pas sa atong anak, ilang gihapon ta. One writer had said that in this place, there's only one highway to pass. When you come from a Gentile territory, to be able to see and notice a person at a great distance right off means you keep on looking and waiting for the return of the person every now and then. And this indicates that this was what the father was doing. The waiting father keeps on looking at the highway every day. Posible nga wa ni siya tarong tu, sige kunahuna, unsa na iyang anak, unsa na nahitabo sa iyang anak, wala niya gilubong sa kalimot ang iyang way respetong anak. Kita pa to, hindi naman ito hala ang imo. Pero wala niya gilubong sa kalimot. The father knew that the kind of life that his son was headed toward would end up the way it ended. And that he hoped that he would survive it so that he could come back. Even though his son had wronged him, he had a great concern for him. He cared for him. He longed for his return. Mga anak, ingon ini kadako ang kahangawa o concern sa mga amahan alang kanila. Ingon ini ang gugma samahan diha kanin. O palihog ingnan inyong mga amahan karon. Thank you, Dad. Ano that your father? Tell him. Thank you. Ora masabubulitan. The father's love has deep concern. Now, third essence, the father's love will protect. Now look at verse 20. It says, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son. Now how did the father protect his son? He ran to protect his son. And the word compassion is splanchnitzomai in the original. And it comes from the root that means your intestines or your bowel or your abdomen. Now what does this mean? This means that the father felt a sick feeling in his stomach when he saw his son. So he ran. Nabalisad yun ang amahan, busa siya bidagan paingon sa iyang anak. The father didn't even know yet whether his son was repentant. It was enough that he returned. Wa siya moingon nga, ibalik ng karahay ay. Kung saan na po'y tuyo, kasi mga yun na punig more.
Kaya pa more.
Para kaniya, enough na nga ibalik. Why did he have that sick feeling in his stomach when he saw his son that made him run? He ran because he wanted to reach his son before his son reaches the village. The word run or running is dramon. That is a technical word for racing in a stadium. It is not trot but sprint. Kung sa amo ning pinulungan, naghaburos nga dagan, huro-huro nga dagan, dili ni inday-inday nga dagan, pinayot ka ng dagan ka. No! Haburos nga dagan. Diba na may mga tao nga mudagan ng pinayot?
Mas ba sa ba?
Maraming bertigo. This is not the kind of running. And take note in those days, Middle Eastern nobleman don't run. Dili sila mudagan. Kung sa ato pakaron, kini bang mga high class nga itong mga panahonan ng mga tao, mga dato ng mga tao, dili sila mudagan. Why? It is because they all have worn long robes. Tag-as nga mga bisti ang ilang isulong na look at this PowerPoint. Kung sa ilang mga bisti, nata ha? Makadagan kagtarong ang ilang sayang.
Sayang.
Di ka makadagan tarong. Aron ka makadagan ang tarong, you have to isa na sayal at running. Oh. Ang problema, kung iisa nimo ang sayal, makita ang imong legs. When this occurs, the legs are exposed, which are considered very humiliating. Grabing makakaulaw kung nakita ang legs sa amahan sa ilang kultura. Exposure of the legs is considered shameful. Makauuaw. Outer robes themselves are called mekibido, meaning that which brings me honor. So honor was connected to the robe. Mabitaw nga, kita ko nga mga preacher nga nagbarong, nga nag-necktie, nag-insert pa, na naka-rubber, hindi konektado. Di ba? Wala nga ang super kamay. Di ba? So sa ilang panahon, mga kaigsuunan, kung adunay langgam na makasunod sa ilaw sa ilang taas na biste o niya patunog og sabat, now, hindi ka pwede nga kuhaon mo ng langgam kung nakalingkod ka. Hindi ka pwede. Di yun ka magliho. Huwag dyan ni mong sundown, kung way taong makakita, una pa kuhaon ng langgam na sa ilaw sa imong sayal. Una-una lang kung saan kang mangihi ng tawanan. Di ba? O paruha pa sa itong mga lulas ko na ako na nawa wala. Gawin mo na ini mga kaisuran ka stricto. Ang ilang kultura. No? Ingon na ini po ka stricto ang pag-protect sa ilang dumog. But in this story, brothers and sisters, the nobleman ran. shame. In their culture, what the son had done, the asking of his share when the father was still alive, the act of leaving his father and living in association with Gentiles, and the squandering of his wealth was an act of stubbornness and rebellion. And in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 to 21, the son should be stoned to death by all men in the town or city. Kailangan lang siya matuwa. Kining may batasan na anak. And this was the reason the father had to run. He ran to protect his son. He didn't want his son to be stoned to death. The father took the shame to protect his son from taking the shame. He took the scorn, the mockery, and the slander so that his son couldn't bear it. He was not concerned of public opinion, nor he was concerned of the law. He loved him so much that he's willing to give up his honor. Gihikling niya ang iyang dungog, mayun man ang balaod, nagpakaulaw ang amahan, aron lamang di maulawan ang anak. Ingon ni Ili kadako sa gugma samahan ngadto sa iyang anak. Mga anak, ng inyong mga amahan, thank you, Dad. Sige. Wa, dihang imong father ini, kawalangan. Muabot na kita dito.
Thank you, Dad.
The father's love will protect. Fourth essence, bilang mag-protect ang gugma samahan. But also the father's love will forgive. How? Look at verse 20. He, the father, ran to his son, threw his arms around him and kissed him. Look at verse 22. Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Now, forgiveness was not clearly stated here, but there are proofs that the father had forgiven his son. Now, what are these proofs? Letter A in verse 21. He embraced and kissed his son. The word kissed in verse 20 is katapilio. It means he smothered him with kisses. This means he kissed him again and again and again, to the point that his son could not almost breathe. Mura ni hawak sa kanang maghanimon, kita na mga minyo kay bawata. Malumos ng asawa di maghinapon na kinamo.
Relate sa TV. Relate sa Pinahimot ba? Pinahimos.
Hindi na ginawa.
Tapo na kasi. Sulit po yung line.
So halos dili makaginhawa ang anak sa iyang paggakus o pagbalik-balik o hawak sa iyang way batasan. Grabe nga mahal. Sa ilang kultura, mga kaigsuunan, tungod sa gibuhat sa anak, ang anak unta mo'y muhawak sa tiil sa iyang amahan. But dinhi nga sitting, mga kaigsuunan, the father was the one kissing him. Siya ang mihawak. And this is a gesture of acceptance, forgiveness, and reconciliation. Letter B in verse 22. Nagyapon sa verse 22. Kung sa'y laing ihatag sa father, he was given the best robe. It means that the first ranking garment It is the most beautiful and the most crafted robe. It was the robe that belonged to the most prominent member of the family to wear in the most prominent sitting at the most prominent event. And the robe was a sign of honor. This means that the son was restored to his sonship, giving him back all the rights and privileges. In other words, pwede na sad siya makapanunod o mahatagan o pila tong share sa kinamuran? 1/3. Twice mo na ang magawa. Pwede na po siya mahatagan o 1/3 share from his father's inheritance. Nagdawat niya kining katayunan sa diha kung ang iyang amahan mamatay. This is an indication of total forgiveness. Papas ang tanan niyang dautan. Papas. 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 Let us see again in verse 22 sa ihapa. He was given the ring. The ring was a sign of authority because it was a signet ring. On that ring was the family crest or seal, so that when you stamp that ring into the melted wax on a document, it was an authentication of that document. The ring gives the son an authority to act with regard to all the family possessions or possesses, all the assets of the family, all the treasures of the family, and all the possessions of the family can be moved around by whoever has this stamp. This is a total restoration. And look at letter D. Still in verse 22, he was given sandals. Ibang sapatos ila sandals. Unang-una kung sa kanila sandal. Tapos ni Sano gapo na yung mga nindot-nindot na sandal sandugo, mahalong. Pero murag dili ni sandugo, murag Gigi sandals. Kung sa maning Gigi sandal, Siri kang tuwang ko sandals. Doon na mo may sandal ni Pastor Siri. Now the giving of sandals was a sign of freedom. Simbolo ito sa kadawasan. Hired servant in those days won't wear sandals. Only the master. And look at verse 21. The son says, I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Di ba na yung mga anak? Ayaw na kong tagay sandal, papa. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. But look at the father. He gave him the sandals. But the father, nihatag og sandal. In other words, yang i-restore ang iyang privileges. He is now a fully vested son who can act in the place of his father. And who has the right to access all the family treasures. Wow! This is real forgiveness. Real forgiveness. In his life would have expected the fathers to explode in anger and discipline upon the arrival of his son. Tingali ang ubang mga papa mo iyon nga, "Uy, Brad, pari, ang imong anak manibalik na. Purdoy naman." No? Wa na may nahot. Sama na nibalik. Tanawa na yung anak, huwag din maghuna-huna sa imong igsoon, iyang igsoon. ning anaka atong pagka-stroke nimo padre, wa gani maguna-una. Wa gani ni magpadaog suwat ka man sa ila. Wa gani ni maga sa ato karon mag text. Nga papa, buhi ko na ka. Wa, tanaw nimo sa side sa father, walay blame. Nga iyang ipasupot ngadto sa iya. When the son recognized his sin, in verse 21, he was immediately forgiven. Pasaylo na yung mga sunod. Nagkunahuna, kita ko kining atong nasod pa. Kitawag mo kining Christian mission sa Far East. No? Kining atong mga igsong katoliko, inimbahon mo gini. Kadalas tres, mag-ampo, bisan asa, magtunog. Doon black rosary, bisan unsa, magsuroy, bisan asa, nasulat. Tawag Christianism, champion mo tali sila sa forgiveness. Mauna nga ako, uyon yung nga ilubong si Marcos dito sa minperyo sa mga bayani. May nga namin para ito pa sa ilo, Christianismo magaling atong naso. Diba? Usa na hitabo din eh. Bisan unsa kadautan sa iyang anak, kipasay. Total forgiveness niya. This story does not only depict the love of a human father, but it also depicts the love of our Heavenly Father for us. Now, I would like to close this meditation with a story. Dunay usa ka amahan nga nagpalit og bagong BMW car. Iyang giparking sa daplin sa kasada ang iyang sakyanan. O tungod kay gusto siya mag-ilis og sinina para sa opisina. No? Adto siya sa kwarto, nya wa siya ka-notice nga ang iyang 5-year-old son ni gawas o gihimusan sa BMW kay sinaw pa man sa ang bata na enjoy pag himas-himas sa body sa mga sakyanan. Later on, he took a sharp stone and wrote on the car, "I love you, Dad."
Malasa.
O, nakadungog ko gusto ron lang, kaya yung mga sakyanan dito sa ilang mga ipang purisan. PM, I love you, Dad. Paggawa sa aman, perting sukuha sa mahal. Yung taon, nga naman nung imo maninggi, naranggi suwat-suwatan, may balik ang amahan dito sa iyong bahay, nagkuha, martilyo, giduk-duk ang kamot sa iyang anak. And the boy was then brought to the hospital. In the following day at the hospital, the boy asked the father, "Dad, when will the doctor restore my broken hands?" Tears flowed from the father's eyes because he knew his little boy's hands couldn't be restored anymore. Dili na ma-restore. Nalata. Father, how much do you love your children? Children, do you realize how deep is your Father's love? Inyo ba nang namuha? May God bless us with His Word. Thank you for listening.